Hello, hello, friends. Welcome to this live. My name is Elena Motonono, and I help online language teachers build their businesses in a more sustainable way. In this live, I will be talking about all the things that email can do for you and how you can sell your language teaching services, programs, bundles of lessons through email. Sometimes teachers, when they move away from a big platform like Italki or Preply, find themselves in a situation where they don't know where they're going to find clients. They rely on word of mouth, random luck. They move around the social media looking for answers, trying to get people to um, hear about their services and to um, really somehow draw their attention through social media. And yet, we have such an amazing tool called email, and I think that this is a something that teachers don't usually use to the extent that they could get the benefit from. So today, this is all about email, and I'm going to share a little bit of my own story. I'll start out with that. I began teaching ESL online in 2009. At the end of 2009, it was kind of like random. I tried dabbling with website creation. Eventually, I did create a website. And I, over time, after posting content several times a week, religiously posting on social media and never getting feedback, my traffic started coming in. There was a lot of traffic. There were lots of people being drawn to very specific posts. And I discovered that those posts were, because they were so popular, there were so many people coming in. I asked myself a question, okay, if all these people are coming in, how are they going to stick around and remember me? Because, whenever you go on Google and you search something and you find a website that answers your question, at some point you're like, okay, I got the answer. Right. And what are my next steps? Sometimes people just browse and move on to something else and they forget you. Like, it's not like especially now, there's so many options, so many different things, right, going on. So I began thinking about it. Like, what if the people that came to my website were to sign up for a newsletter or were to somehow connect with me? If I were not just writing blog posts about grammar rules, but also inviting people to sign up for my newsletters where I would give them more information on grammar or whatever else I was writing at the time, how is it going to make a difference for them? And it made sense to me because, if you go on somebody's email list, right, you get on somebody's email list, you might just be interested in the subject. You may not necessarily be interested in hiring the person right now, but you like their content and you're like, yeah, and I would like to hear from them more often. What happens is they remember you better and then you stay on their radar. And that is so important because people usually buy from those whom they like and whom they feel like they know and whom they trust. And over time, as you send faithfully your newsletters every week, every other week, people will remember you. And when they remember you, the opportunity arises for them to go and work with you, or like, oh, I need to brush up on my language skills, or I need to do that. They will remember you. They are not going to go around and look in this big world for somebody that would help them. They already know you. And so I started learning about email that way and its power. And I discovered so much. I was able to, within 4 months of really intense working on my email, I was able to get a client. Now, because in the beginning, I was still kind of overwhelmed with one-to-one students. I really didn't need more clients through my email list. I thought it would be kind of my rainy day fund, right? So I wasn't doing the things that I'm going to tell you you absolutely want to do when you have a newsletter. But I did find that people would engage with my newsletters. And this is one thing that unfortunately social media or YouTube is not going to give you. Neither social media or YouTube is going to give you statistics and data of who exactly is watching, who exactly is reading, who exactly is clicking. You know, you can't do that with your podcast. You can't do it with, your Instagram, unless of course somebody is liking, but you don't ever know who is reading your content but never liking or never commenting. Whereas with the newsletter, you have a way of tracking people's behavior when you're sending something and they like this email. You get a lot more open rates than when you send something and they don't like it. When you send an offer in your email and people click on the link where you describe the offer, these are the people that are truly interested in your content, and you can then work with them. You can send them more follow-up emails, or you can see, or you can, offer them something that is really valuable that you won't offer to other people. So email is incredible. When I opened up email for myself, I mean, I had an email list from the beginning as an ESL teacher. But because, like I said, I was still doing one-on-one classes and my blog was this really heavy burden that I was carrying because somebody told me I had to. One of the things I really enjoyed was the newsletter because it gave me opportunities to like try out different things. And then when I opened my current website, elenamotonono.com, then I began doing a lot more emailing more consistently and more strategically, which is something that you also want to do. I found that teachers that don't connect with their audience, don't build trust, or they start with the newsletter and they start and stop, that is not something that actually builds trust. Now, there are different strategies for you to stick with the newsletter, and there's also reasons why you do not want to stick with the newsletter. And the reason you resist putting the newsletter out or talking about it is called resistance. And I'm actually doing a workshop in just a couple of days, and I wanted to invite you to it. There is a link that I'm sending in the chat right now, and you can check it out. I will also put it in the description. It is free, and it is only available to people that are in kind of my current sphere or my group. Whether you are a subscriber or you are on the email list, you get this invite. I would love for you to come so that you can discover how you can stay consistent, because that is so, so important. Because none of us actually ever wants to receive an email from somebody that they forgot they signed up for the email list 6 months ago, and then somebody decides to sell something and they all of a sudden write to us. That is not something we want done to us, but I've seen teachers do it because they allow this lack of direction and vision to mess with their strategy, with email strategy. So, so how to set up a newsletter, and why is it important? Now, unlike with, let's say, your website that takes a lot of time, right? And other bigger pieces of your business, right? Doing email marketing is very easy in a sense, setting it up. But it's something that you can set up and actually over time, you can see a return on that. But there are certain tech parts that you need to figure out in the beginning. So there are certain steps. The first step is to buy a domain. And I know lots of teachers can overthink that step, but if you're, I for that I have several options for you. The first option is just go with your name. If your name is not, something common, right? Go with your name because that way people will remember your name, and it also gives you a lot of flexibility as to what you want to put on your website. Maybe today you're an accent coach, but like 5 years from now, you do not want to be an accent coach. You can still use this domain. Now, to buy a domain, you go to namecheap.com and look for available domains. The domain will cost about like some that are very, in trendy. People would buy them and then they would resell them, but you don't want that. You want to keep looking until you find something that is around $10 a year. That's pretty cheap. If you can't use your name, if your name is like Katie Smith or whatever, then you might want to think about something that is punchy, right? Something that people will remember. Try to stay away from these like tedious names like English with Jessica or German with Mit something else. Try to find an approach or a name that is going to be, not too specific, right? But not, and also not too cliche. Um, and that's where you can like watch other people. Sometimes you can find fun names and put them together. Um, Sometimes people like having a story to their domain. But either way, you're not buying the domain to build a website. You're buying the domain for the next step. Um, and that is setting up a business email address. So a business email address is, your name at, and then your professional domain. So like your company.com. You can register it with a hosting company. One of the good ones that is affordable is, I think, Hosting Ground or something like that. But there's many of those. In the beginning, actually, it doesn't matter because you are not going to build your website around it. SiteGround, I remember it. Okay, so siteground.com, you can go there. They used to have very good quick response rate. My website is on a different platform. I use Flywheel. It's a little more expensive, but it's because I actually am running a website and I have a lot of information on the website. And I actually wanted to do SiteGround at some point, but SiteGround told me your website is too complex. And anyway, so you can try both. Flywheel, I've been using it, Flywheel app, I think it's called. But for you, this is just the step. When you register, you pay about $10 or $15 a month for that. And they provide you with a business email address. That's what you need to then create an email marketing system account with either MailChimp or MailerLite and set up a landing page. This is where people will go to sign up for your newsletter, or you might want to have a lead magnet, which we will talk about that in a minute. So these steps, of course, require some technical knowledge, but it's not something that is so awful that you cannot learn. There is a lot of materials about that on YouTube, and you can find it for free, and you can set it up in a really straightforward way. And there's really no way around it. And it's best if you set it up on your own instead of hiring somebody, because if you hire somebody and you didn't learn the process, then every time something doesn't go well, you don't know what exactly is not working. So you're not able to troubleshoot yourself. This is, I think, the hardest part of being an online language teacher and working on your own is when you take responsibility and ownership of your business and you start working on these projects that require some technical knowledge. But like I said, it's nothing that you can't learn, and trust me, I learned it first in I mean, I've had my newsletter for 14 years, I think. I started in 2010 or 2011, and I was using Aweber at the time. But you can use for email marketing services. You can use, currently, I'm using MailChimp.com, but a lot of people in my community, in the Smart Teachers Library, start out with MailerLite because MailerLite is cheaper. And MailerLite also has an option like a free plan. MailChimp used to have a free plan, but they no longer have that. Or if they do, it's very limited as to what you can do. Like you can't create an automation, which is my next point. So the very first thing that you do then, after you created, whenever you go to collaborate, if you do not have a ready-made offer, you can invite people to your newsletter. You can tell them, here's the link, sign up. And that is the landing page that will stay everywhere you go. When I switched to working with teachers in 2014, I started blogging about that. I would go to different places where I could post or write blog posts as a guest, and I would leave the link to my landing page. And at the time, I did not really have my website. I would just leave the MailChimp landing page, and people would sign up. And it's a very easy process. And, over time, this blog post gets shown to many more people, and that's how people find you. Or if you choose to go on YouTube, if you choose to do social media, or if you, for example, have your own podcast, I'm saying or because you don't need to have all of that at the same time. You can always put that link and invite people to hear from you every week. This is an important part. It's kind of like your introduction to people. You're able to connect with people and tell them about your work and tell them about the things that you do, which is what takes me to the next point is, what do you write in the newsletters? What do I write in the newsletters? Many teachers, again, overthink that, and then they don't write. And the only thing they do write and remember to write is when they have something to sell or they want to sell. And they're like, well, I don't have the audience. I need to do something about it. So they go and send it out. And these are the people that feel very initially, they're like, I don't want to sound salesy. But when you send your newsletter 6 months after 6 months silence, and then you send it out to people with an offer, it is very likely that this is how it will be taken. First of all, people will be asking themselves, who are you? Why are you in my inbox? What are you doing? People forget who or what they sign up for. So there are 3 things that you can do with newsletters, and 3 things that I usually do. First of all, you inspire. This is the easiest thing you can do. I know for many teachers, this idea of newsletters, I'm going to be in people's inboxes. They get so many emails. Why would they need an email? That is precisely why they need an email from you, because you have the choice of how your email is going to be. If you want your email to sound like Amazon with the greatest deals and the only thing like sale, you can choose to do that. But you don't have to. You can be human and you can send something that people actually genuinely look forward to. You can make somebody's day through your email. And email is so personal and email is so intimate that over time, I've had some people on my newsletter for almost 10 years. And when I go back and I look at the dates when this person signed up, I'm like, oh, wow, this person has been here. And they're usually, I have a way of tracking how active they are. They're usually very active. Can you imagine? They've watched my journey, right? They've seen my development from, 9 years ago, as when I just started and I was still like trying to figure out what I was doing, to today. And what I am today is not what I will be tomorrow. And that sometimes freaks people out. It's like, oh, I can't write until I'm perfect. But if you let go of your perfectionism and actually look at this process with curiosity, you will find a lot of cool things in it. So I do inspire people. So you can send something inspirational. You can say something that you've been learning, reading, something that people have struggled with, something perhaps that you have struggled with and you were able to overcome. That usually is super inspiring. The second thing is education. I would not necessarily go in depth into the education process. So you do not want to turn your newsletters into your next textbook page, right? You want to maybe give people hacks for learning or things that they may not be aware of. You have learned because you have been doing this for so long and you have your own strategy and you share the strategy with others, and people think, oh, this is something I've never thought about. This is interesting. Uh, Last is entertainment. You can send people something light as well. You can show up as a human. You can talk about things that maybe don't have much to do with your business. But when you show up as a human, people connect with you more. People remember these things better. So many times people will write to me and they remember that I have children and I went through a period of time where running a business was really challenging, and people connected on that level because when they have kids and they're trying to run their business, they feel like, oh my gosh, it's going to take so long. And sometimes they're about to give up. But because they have read my story and they can kind of see themselves in that story, they connect and they stay on the newsletter, which is really, really cool. And you also want to do one thing in the newsletters that you are probably scared of, and that is selling. You want to actively be selling or telling people, this is what I do. Because I remember in the very beginning, for a number of years, I barely ever mentioned the fact that I was teaching one-to-one classes. And mainly it was because I was booked out all the time. And I was like, oh, I can't imagine more people coming in. What am I going to do with them? And it was hard for me to come up with something asynchronous. It would take me years before I would try it. And I only tried out of necessity because I had a child. And I was like, man, my income plummeted from, here to going 95% all the way down. But I didn't usually announce what I was doing. So people would take these tips and they really loved it. And I didn't want to make them mad or unsubscribe by offering things. And this is something that I've learned the hard way over time, because unless you tell people that you're selling something, they won't know it. And sometimes teachers are like, well, I just don't want to push others. No, you don't want to push others. And if people feel like you're pushing them, they will go and look for somebody else. However, I see that as an invitation to work together, because I know personally that I can give my audience a lot more if they are working with me more closely, whether in my community, whether in my courses, whether in, when they read books, or they're working with me one-on-one or in group programs. I can give people a lot more support and a lot more clarity and a lot more confidence through that. And that is how I tell myself this is going to be really helpful. And if you look at it from that perspective, you will be able to sell through your newsletters without feeling icky about that. To tell you that it's not going to put some people off is to probably lie, because it is going to put some people off, because sometimes we just don't want to be um, to do anything about our problem. We might have a problem, but we're like, well, I don't want to take classes because it's going to completely ruin my life, or I will have to give up Netflix, and I don't want to do that. So that's one thing that you want to really, really consider and look into. And this is one of the things I never did for a long time. I felt like just because I was sending this content and people could go on my website that could go on my website and then land on the page that talks about my services. But it doesn't work like that, because unless you make people aware of it actively, like I was sharing with you my upcoming class on resistance in a few days, people don't know. You won't know. And you don't always have an option of going on a website and updating it, but you can do that through the newsletter. You can actually treat your newsletter as your first type of content. You create your newsletters, you write something in them, and they become your kind of mm, your mouthpiece, your opportunity to share something very important and valuable with others. So, um, there are two more things that I wanted to talk about. One is the process of selling your services, how exactly you can go about it. If you, for example, have been just started your newsletter, and you can talk about your services. One of the very important things to remember when you talk about your services in the newsletter, especially in the beginning, is you want to mention it, you want to make people aware of it, but you don't want to launch just yet. You want to build enough time and connection with people so people can know your story, understand why you do what you do, understand why it matters to you. And also, you can use the newsletter to add your students' testimonials as well. So that is one of the ways to sell. You can say, this is what I do and how I work with my students, and here is the testimonials. And that testimonial is really important, because people can see themselves in that story. So not just your story, but the story of your clients. So in the beginning, maybe for a few months, you give yourself the time to just build this rapport, build this relationship, build trust, continue serving your audience. And then after maybe 3 or 4 months of weekly sending newsletters, in the beginning, I used to tell, well, choose a different, choose the frequency that is not really hard for you. But I think with the way things are, you want to be sending newsletters weekly, because people, every other week maybe, but eventually you want to work yourself up to doing it once a week, because people forget about your existence. And if you do monthly, then it will take you even that much longer to build that trust. So you want to make sure that your the number of newsletters is really, in such a way, set up in such a way that people are able to get to know you. So then, when you decide to actually sell your program or sell your bundle, I would invite you or encourage you to launch it. And by launching, I mean you set up a date, and then you take maybe 1 week to talk about your services exclusively. You let people know that you will be bringing new students or looking for new students. And there are different ways of doing that. You can either invite people to work with you to sign up for free classes, and through free classes or diagnostic calls, you sell your package of lessons or program. Or if you have a larger list, which doesn't usually happen in the beginning, but let's say you are already at that stage, you want to have a live class, a free class, and get people inside that free class, and then sell your program or product or service. So that's how it works that way. Now, what is launching and why is it so important? Well, launch is a way to talk about one specific goal, like you would like to sell, maybe 2 or 3 packages. You want to talk about it consistently. And it's such a fantastic opportunity for you to learn how sales work. And maybe in the beginning it's going to be a little shaky. Maybe you're not going to get the return that you want. But one thing for sure that is going to happen is you will learn how to sell, and you will start analyzing and selling better over time when you have the data from your launch sequence. You will see where people, how people are interested, whether they are clicking the link or not. In the very beginning of working with my clients, I encourage them to follow up with the people that clicked the links, and or write a special segment, a special email, and send it to the people that click the links. It is so powerful because sometimes people click the link and they're thinking, and if you follow up with them, like I did, I created a lot of clients that way, by following up specifically with the people and being open to answering their questions. And then once you have been doing newsletters and selling through newsletters for a while, then you will be ready for an automated sequence. And that is the last point of what I wanted to bring up today, is automation. There's a lot of questions about freebies or lead magnets. When do you start with it? This is usually a really cumbersome and really multi-step method. And the other day I saw an ad on Instagram that talked about somebody giving you the sure way for a lead magnet that is going to serve you forever. There is no such thing. You cannot have a lead magnet that you will create on the first try and it will be like that forever. The lead magnet that I have, the Smart Teachers Kit, on my website, I change it so often, maybe 1 year or 2 years, because your concept changes, because you get more specific on what you want and how you want to connect with your students. You become more aware of their problems, and you get more responses and people's feedback. And that is really, really powerful. So you create a lead magnet that is kind of a portion of the program that you would like to teach, whether it's a program on pronunciation, then your lead magnet has to be pronunciation, right? If it's grammar, then it's grammar. Although I would encourage you to try out integrational approaches. I'm like drawing a blank on the word. And you are able to integrate several skills together. That's what I'm trying to say. And that is a really good way to sell your program, because you won't just be focusing on like grammar and then thinking, oh, are people going to sign up or are they not going to sign up? So try this integrational approach. And if you are like focusing on speaking, then your lead magnet is speaking. If you're focusing on writing, your lead magnet is writing. Why is lead magnet important? What is the big deal of lead magnet? I think it's an incredible way. The lead magnet can be different things. It can be a video, or it can be a PDF document, depending on what your audience resonates with the most. My decision to choose a lead magnet that is a PDF, which may change, but so far it has been based off of the knowledge of my audience, that my audience likes reading more than watching. And but it may change, because I know that videos really create a lot more of a bond. But you create a lead magnet, and then you have a sort of sequence where you talk more about why you do what you do, how it is changing people's lives, and you get proof of that is changing people's lives. So in a short period of time, and I love lead magnets because you can get people introduced to you, your work, your clients' stories and results in a matter of like 5 days. And people are able to remember you, and then they decide if they want to stick with you, or they're like, well, that's not for me, and they unsubscribe, which is great, which is actually really, really great. But this sequence can help you sell a small product. And this is where, you wouldn't want to do it right away. I would probably wait a year. This is not what I personally did when I first tried it, because I heard somebody say, well, if you create just this amazing sequence after your lead magnet, after so many days, people will definitely sign up and buy it. And so I copied the whole thing and I tried it. And of course, surprise, surprise, it did not work because I was not creating the sequence and the lead magnet and the actual small product based on the feedback I got from my audience. I still did not have an idea what they were buying, how they would buy, what they were interested in. I was like, well, maybe I can sell this. And it didn't work. So, what I would recommend is you only want to set up your automation, your lead magnet plus a sequence after you've known people for a while, after you've seen how people are using your lead magnet, and also discovered what is it that you specifically help people achieve that other people don't, or at least not in their proximity. So, you're able, once you do that, you can sell a small product. It's called minimum viable product through your sequence. And once a person buys within 5 days and parts with the money, then it's a different relationship already. They are no longer just like, somebody passively looking and receiving your newsletters. They're actually actively engaging themselves in the content that you're creating. And then it is quite possible that they will be able to purchase from you later when you are launching a program, when you are launching a product, when you are launching just your coaching services. You will be able to do that because you have all these people that have paid you like $5 for the minimum viable product that came through the lead sequence. And it's so incredible. I find it almost miraculous the way I treat newsletter. I was so excited that my very first product that I created for teachers was to teach them how to use newsletters, how to set up email marketing campaign, because to me it was like the epitome of teaching smarter, right? To teach the language in a smart way and to sell in a smart way. But for many teachers, this idea of sending newsletters creates still a lot of anxiety, and a lot of resistance comes up with the newsletter, and so they choose not to do it. And I will be actually talking about all the resistance that keeps us starting and stopping in my upcoming free event called 7 Reasons that you resist change in your business. And that workshop is going to be just 1 hour, and it's free. Right now, there's a link in the chat. Feel free to check it out. I'll also put it in the description. In 1 hour, I will show to you what exactly are the ways that resistance comes up. And you, I'm sure, have experienced that when you try to move forward and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you can't do this. And then you stop and you not move forward. A lot of teachers start and stop, especially with social media, especially with email marketing, with any things that does not give them an immediate result. And we're used to, in one-to-one setting, to immediate results. You have classes and you get immediately paid, right? You have something out, you put something out there, get immediate feedback. But that is not so when you want to be consistently doing stuff, because there's a lot of resistance in us. But where does it come from? How does it feel? And what do you do about it? I'm going to do this workshop. And in the workshop, one person will win a month in my community, Smart Teachers Library, which actually closes on the 6th of February. I am so looking forward to sharing all these important messages with you, because you can have all these tips and strategies, but the bottom line, really, the reason why we're doing or not doing, succeeding or not succeeding, is because of what's happening in our heads. And that's why mindset is so foundational to anything that we do in business. People that have achieved success, achieved the things that you want to achieve today, are not just the people who knew how to do that. These are the people that knew the strategies, yes, but they also had the inner focus and belief that they were capable of doing that. And I want to show you why, for some reason, whenever you want to move forward, you have this resistance that comes up. And there are very cool exercises, mindset exercises, that you can use to overcome that. So the link is now in the chat. I invite you to sign up. It's free. I have not done anything for free for over a year. So it feels kind of cool to see all the new people joining. And I hope you will be one of them. I appreciate your time. I'm wishing you all the best on your journey as online language teachers. And I will see you hopefully next week in another lesson. Let me know in the comments if there are some things that you would like for me to talk about. I will be talking on some other questions that people have brought up, maybe in a different series, but I always am looking forward to your comments. Have a lovely weekend. Bye, everyone.